Piss off!
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. My name's AJ. As you can see, Liz Truss has been named the British Prime Minister. As I have been saying all along, I have been saying since March. All of you people who have been following my channel, you may have noticed since March I have been saying that Liz Truss will be the next Prime Minister. This is because I have a lot of inside information. I am a civil servant. I do work for the government, so I do have a lot of inside information. So those of you who did stick with me, you see that my prediction has come true. As you can see from the clips, a lot of people are not very happy. She's British Prime Minister. She's getting a lot of boos. One particular person in particular had said that she's Boris Johnson Part 2. Trust me, it wasn't me that was saying it, even though I work near that office. I wouldn't say anything like that. I would get sacked. I just do YouTube channels instead. Anyway, really bad news for Great Britain. Personally, I think she's going to be a disaster. She's going to be worse than Boris Johnson in many ways. She's also a former Liberal, so that tells you everything you want to know. I don't want to say how badly she will mess things up. I will just let her do her job, and you will see week by week how Britain deteriorates. Those who don't know how British politics work, we are run by the US government. The military industrial complex, the neocons, the lobbyists, whatever you may call it, we are run by the US government. So her rhetoric about starting a war with China, starting a war with Russia, all of that stuff gone down very well in the United States, and they decided she's going to be the next Prime Minister after Boris Johnson. It doesn't matter how crap she is, the Americans decided she would be the best bet for their interests. So this is why she's become the next Prime Minister. Rishi Sunak never had a chance, to be honest. You know, first of all, he was a really crap Chancellor. Most of our issues is because of him. He's also very dodgy. He's allowed his wife to get away with taxes, not paying any tax. He's a very dodgy guy. And also, he's not very likable. Not many people like him. And the most important factor is his skin color. There is no way Britain would allow him to be a Prime Minister just for that reason alone. So even though Liz Truss is very underqualified to be a Prime Minister, she's really bad at her job. She's failed in every single thing she was working on in her life. She's failed at everything. She's failed in her marriage even. She's cheated on her husband for 8 years. Even Nicola Sturgeon, you can see she's saying that she would be an absolute disaster for Britain. So she's definitely come to this position in the worst way possible. We have literally the worst candidate to be a Prime Minister, and guess what? She's become a Prime Minister. We are at a crisis at the moment, Britain, with the cost of living crisis. People are getting hungry, people are dying, people are getting cold. There's going to be a lot of issues this winter. And if things don't improve, I can see a lot of riots happening. I can see Britain really struggling, people really struggling. So Liz Truss is probably the worst leader for this particular time. But we'll see how she does. I don't want to say any more. We'll just let her do the work and see what she does. See how far she takes Britain, or how far down she takes Britain. As you can see, police are already preparing for riots, which will happen this winter if things don't improve. The gas and electricity bills look to go up by 400% by next April 2023. 400% compared to what it was last year. people are not going to be able to afford that. You know, this is like paying another mortgage or another rent. People do not have that kind of money lying around, especially the working class, especially the poor, middle income. So things are going to get really, really bad. We'll see how bad they get, and we'll see what people do when bills really, really go up. One good thing that's come out of all of this is I'll be glad to see the back of this woman. This is cause for celebration. I'll be certainly going out tonight and drinking, and if I can find any pubs that are open, because all British pubs seem to be closed at the moment. So whether I find a pub or not, I'll still be celebrating. I'm so happy this woman is gone. So out with one battle axe and in with another. So I want to talk a bit about Mr. Scholz here. As you know, Russia has shut down Nord Stream 1. And guess what? Mr. Scholz is saying Russia is an unreliable partner. This is the funniest thing I ever hear these Germans say. Because, you know, when you start a fight, when you go to the streets and you start a fight with someone and you say to them, listen, I'm allowed to punch you, but you are not allowed to punch me, okay? So you start throwing a few punches. As soon as they start hitting you back, you start complaining, saying, oh, you hit me, that's not fair, that's not fair, you are not a good person, you hit me, you are not a good person. This is exactly what this Mr. Scholz guy is doing. This is completely Germans' own fault for getting themselves into this mess. Completely their own fault. Germany was present when Ukraine signed the Minsk agreement twice. So Germany is very much responsible for Ukraine not implementing the Minsk agreements. Germany probably just said to Ukraine, you know what, don't worry about the Minsk agreements, do what you want, you know. Russia's not very powerful. They're not going to do anything to you. They're too scared of NATO. They're too scared of the Americans. They're not going to do anything. Don't worry. Don't sign the Minsk agreements. Don't implement them. Just relax. Chill out. That's probably what the Germans said to the Ukrainians. And guess what? Russia wasn't having any of it. Then Germany started putting all these ridiculous sanctions on Russia. Started sending military aid to Ukraine, starting being very, very anti-Russian with their rhetoric. These guys were saying they're going to destroy Russia's ruble, they're going to, you know, destroy Putin. And then suddenly, now that Russia's fighting back, now that Russia's shutting down, you know, this Nord Stream 1, they're saying, you know, Russia's the unreliable partner. I mean, that makes no sense. Germany is the one that started all of this. Germany is the one that started all this sanctions war with Russia. So is Germany a reliable partner? When you put sanctions on another country, you are cancelling contracts. Seriously, what planet is this guy on? I mean, this guy is fighting for his political life. You know, when winter hits and German people go out on the streets asking for his head, we'll see how he reacts. So gas prices have tripled after Russia turns off the pipe. So this is bad news for the rest of Europe, but they asked for this. They asked for this sanctions war. You know, they could have easily stopped this war from happening any time. They could have said, you know, Ukraine's not going to be joining NATO, you know, and force Ukraine to implement the Minsk agreements. They could have easily stopped this, but they didn't. Now look where they are. So the gas storage is apparently not enough for the EU to last through winter. No shit, Sherlock. Of course they don't have enough. You know, they're not getting anything through Nord Stream 1. About 20% capacity over the last few months. 20 to 40%. That is not enough for Germans' industry and Europeans' industry to keep the industry running. That is not enough gas. And the prices of gas right now, businesses are getting electricity bills which were 5,000 for 1 quarter. I'm talking about Britain. It was, some pubs were reporting £5,000 for the year to run some pubs. Now they're getting bills of about £500,000 for electricity, gas bills to run pubs in UK. And so many pubs are now closing all over UK because they can't afford it. So I can imagine how German businesses are like, because Germans rely on gas more than UK. So a lot of businesses will suffer. So EU is to blame for Nord Stream 1 lying idle. So obviously one of the reasons Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 were built, so they were built in parallel to each other. Two pipelines supplying gas to not only Germany but for the rest of Europe. And one of the reasons they had the two pipes running in parallel, so if one shuts down for maintenance, you have another pipeline running as normal. Redundancy. And redundancy is used in every major organization, in every IT solution. I work in IT, and I work in the IT department as a civil servant. And every system that we have redundancy. For example, we have two databases, one running live system and another running in parallel as a standby system. We have network redundancies. We have Unix system redundancies. We have, every single system has a redundancy. So one system goes down, you have another one in standby, ready to go online. And this is exactly the same thing with pipelines. If one pipeline is shut down for work or repair work, you have another pipeline running. So it's a really stupid thing to shut down Nord Stream 2. Really stupid thing. It is so dumb. It's not even the Germans' decision to do it. It was basically Biden. Biden said in a press conference in front of Scholz, "We will shut down Nord Stream 2. Like, it wasn't even Germans' decision. It was the Americans told them to do it, and they just did it. I mean, Scholz, he must be the weakest leader I've ever seen in my whole life. All of this is Germans' fault. All of it. And what's worse, they can't even do the repairs because most of the repairs and turbines and equipment that's required, they can't fix it because they've all been sanctioned. So even if they wanted to get it repaired, they can't. It's all sanctioned. And of course they are doing these sanctioned waivers, and obviously these turbines are going from Canada to Germany, and Germany are now sending it back to Russia, and now Russia's saying other parts are broken, other turbines are broken. So it's an absolute mess. It's an absolute mess, and no wonder Russia is now saying, you know what, we had enough. Screw it, just shut it down, shut it all down. We don't give a crap anymore. I'm not surprised. If I was running a business and my supplier was messing me around like this, I'd just shut it down myself. I'll be like, you know what, it's not worth it. It's not worth the hassle. I'm just going to go, I'm the one with the gas. I'll just go sell it elsewhere. I'll sell it to China, India. There's plenty of other people who want my business. Screw this. So the G7 has gone and done something even more ridiculous and stupid. They announced oil price cap, which is really going to work, right? Wrong. It's not going to work at all. It's going to slap them back into their faces like the rest of the sanctions have. So what they're saying they're going to do, they're going to basically enforce it by not allowing transport insurance to go via Russia, and they're not going to transport these ships. And London is currently the world leader or number one place where people get insurance and shipping insurance for oil trade. And guess what? Guess why it's not going to work? Because they sanctioned Russian oil anyway in terms of insurance. So these insurance companies have already sanctioned themselves because of it. So nobody cares about insurance coming out of London. You know, tankers are being insured in China, in Russia itself, in other countries like Dubai, for example, you know, Turkey even, you know, Greece even. You know, it really doesn't matter about the London insurance market anymore. You know, because of Brexit, more and more businesses are moving away from London, and now London is losing its big share of insurance companies, and they're starting to move out of London as well. Nowadays, there's a huge insurance boom happening in Shanghai. There's because of all of these issues around the world. Shanghai is a go-to place for shipping insurance, and Shanghai and Beijing have the means to provide insurance for shipping containers to ship oil and gas around the world, and plus they have the navy as well to provide security if they need it as well. So, you know, Shanghai is going to be the number one go-to place for shipping insurance. So London providing shipping insurance is going to be long gone. Within a year, it's going to disappear. You know, people that think the G7 can enforce this, no way they can enforce it. 100%. Even the Washington Post says enforcing Russian oil price cap is problematic. So let me tell you something about the G7. The G7 countries are all in recession at the moment. So gone are the days when the G7 can have a say in how they run the world. The G7 is 7 countries, including USA, obviously, but they cannot run the whole world anymore. You know, the BRICS countries have got bigger economies than the G7 ever would. Bigger economies, bigger population. The G7 are useless nowadays. I mean, what are the things that the G7 announced over the past few years, and how many of them have come into fruition? They've announced Build Back Better. Do you remember the Build Back Better scheme that they announced? Where is that now? It's disappeared. Nobody even talks about it. There's nothing excuse me. There's no talk about it. It's been, you know, shoved under the carpet like the rest of the stuff they announced in the G7. And you can see from this article here, G7 finance minister agreed to impose oil price cap. But if you look at the last sentence, but gave few details how the scheme would work and be enforced. Well, guess what? Countries like China, countries like India have already said they're not going to implement it. And you can see here, China rejects West calls for Russian oil price cap. India's going to do the same. The rest of Asia is going to do the same. OPEC is going to do the same. You know, how are they going to implement this? They can't. And look at what OPEC have decided to do today. OPEC Plus to cut oil output. Production will be reduced by 100,000 barrels per day starting from October. Because they've done that, oil prices have shot up in the market. And you can see here, FTSE oil 100 says that oil prices have jumped. Because OPEC Plus decided to cut output, and also the world rejecting this ridiculous price cap thing, even the Washington Post is saying, how are they going to do this? They can't. You know, G7 has no control how the rest of the world's country runs. Every country now is after its own back. Every country now has got its own interests. You know, there is no way they'll be able to implement it. They can implement it themselves, but how's that going to help them? All Russia's going to do is say, no, we're not going to supply you any oil. So how's that going to help their economy? It's not. It's another ridiculous scheme that these guys are coming up with, which is bound to fail, like all of their other schemes and all of their other sanctions. Absolutely ridiculous, guys. So anyway, that's all for today. I'm gonna be doing short videos now, because YouTube support have told me that I'm only retaining 25% of my customer base, and YouTube is not pushing out my videos because they're too long. So this is why I'm going to start shortening my videos. And also, I would probably need support from you guys. My Patreon support members are going down. I really need your support because most of my videos get demonetized. I have only 55 Patreon members. If you can join my locals, would be much better. People like Richard Medhurst, they have around 800-900 Patreons. He makes a ton. He makes an absolute ton. And people like me are basically scrounging around for peanuts. So any support would be able to help this channel. It will help me grow. I'll really appreciate it. I'm starting to think whether doing these videos are worth it now. So your support will make a lot of difference. So or you can buy me a coffee as well. And if you cannot support me that way, you know, make sure you watch the video from start to end. Make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you comment. All of that does help. So anyway, thanks for that, guys, and I'll see you soon. Take care for now.